we realize that the reasons why a lot of activist organizations die is that they're mired in administration issues and logistical issues, as opposed to providing an outlet for people to get involved. And we want to avoid that by simplifying and streamlining administration. We want to expand our volunteer force and engage them effectively. We've been able to pass some laws using some very few people, but we'd like to expand to multiple jurisdictions, especially San Jose, and start lobbying the Ethics Commission and the City Council there into passing meaningful reform. We want to build critical mass by continuing to leverage other organizations with our shared goals. They're an excellent asset, both in terms of connections as well as knowledge, and they're interested in what we have to do. We have a city-specific playbook that I will show you later on of some of the specific tactics we like to use to influence city politics. And we want to shine a light on campaign financing, not on the peninsula, in the Bay Area. I'll mark that down as a typo. Yes, we want to consolidate our chapter strategy and simplify roles. We want to recruit new members into the chapter and define clear volunteer positions. We want to build alliances with leaders of different organizations. We want to follow our playbook to train chapter members on them and to execute these tactics. And we want to act on those measures. Give me 1 second while I reboot PowerPoint that just crashed. Are there any questions while I'm doing this?
Yeah. Maybe this would be a good time to pass out the sign-up sheet.
Yeah, sure. And the volunteer forms. We have a sign-up sheet. If you would provide us with our contact information, I can put you on our mailing list if you're interested. I don't spam out too many emails.
So I already signed this in Menlo Park.
Okay. Yes, you're on it already. I know that.
And then there's a survey form. So if we could just pass that around, and the survey forms are underneath.
Sure.
You can fill those out. Thank you.
Yeah, we have survey forms that are just a long list of potential ways people can get involved, like specific things like contacting local people, contacting local press organizations, managing social media or other media, just specific ways that you personally could potentially get involved. And even if you're not interested in getting involved, if you're able to, still please fill it out, because I want to know what people are interested in doing in general.
Well, what I'm interested in knowing about these objectives that you've laid out before us, that your group is interested in, is these a national goal, or are these objectives set by a national organization, or what is the exact structure of the Represent Us organization?
So our national,
how do you fit in?
Yeah, our national organization is basically just a providing policy and support for these grassroots movements, right? They're a source of legal expertise, since most of us aren't lawyers here, and they serve to educate us on the general problems that face democracy. However, it's the chapter's goals to know the specific lay of the land of how city politics is structured in different jurisdictions, to find out what the biggest problems in their local jurisdictions are, and then to act upon them, right? So, for example, our involvement with redistricting is at the city level, right, and in improving city elections. In other states, they also have a strong focus on redistricting, but that's on congressional districts and independent commissions on the state level, right? So our national organization lends support to these grassroots movements and provides policy support. But
policy support, not setting objectives, though?
They do have objectives, and they do provide aid and funding for like campaigns that are underway, especially large statewide campaigns. They provided support in our Proposition T campaign in San Francisco, and for major campaigns throughout the country, like in South Dakota or in Washington or in Maine, where we were involved.
Does any of your literature say where they're located, or
Cambridge, Massachusetts?
In Cambridge, okay. And there's a statewide affiliated organization?
In California?
Mm-hmm.
No. There's no California Represent Us right now.
No.
We know we've spoken occasionally with the other chapter members, but due to California's size, we don't feel comfortable putting something on the ballot that we can't immediately follow through on. We try to aim for victories, and we don't think we can get a victory passed through the California right now, especially with the pressure from the federal government that California faces, the California legislature faces. So, this is our city.
Before you continue, you're recording this.
Yeah, is that okay?
I'm just curious why you're recording.
As I said, to have a public record, and also perhaps to, with your permission, of course, to post it on YouTube.
Sure. Yeah, and that's fine.
So yeah, you want to get the word out, right?
Yeah,
I think this is important. Elections are important. A free and fair election is the object of the group, the overall objective. I just wonder why they don't simplify it and have one objective for every community to go after one thing, and that is to get rid of these voting machines. Get rid of the die-bolt voting machines that apparently can be hacked by the Russians or the Democrats or the Republicans or whoever feels like it, throwing an election their way.
That is
it's just
an aspect. And
that is what we should all be unified. One goal, everybody. If we did that, we could accomplish that. But your goals are all spread out all over the place. There's no central focus. That's what there needs to be.
I don't think I necessarily...
I'm sorry, I'm being critical.
I know. I'll respond really quickly, because I
right.
don't think I necessarily agree. Because it's true that we have a wide variety of goals, but that depends on the local jurisdictions, what people want to see in reform, and what we can meaningfully enact. We don't set goals for things that we don't have a chance of making real progress for in the short term, like in the next couple of years or so. We are looking into, in San Mateo, there was a major change to how elections are conducted. They're using a new voting center system with automatic voter registration, and that includes talk of what they're going to do with the voting machines there, which is something we're looking at. But if we simply set like a single aspect of the problem as our main focus, we would be distributing labor ineffectively, right? Because there's a lot of different areas where we can make a lot of difference. And voting machines is important, and I agree with you. But we need to take a look at the broader picture, both in terms of the local California area, in the Bay Area, and in terms of nationally and federally, where we can make change. I hope that answers your question somewhat.
That's
and we can talk
helpful,
about it after the meeting as well.
I appreciate it. It's a very well thought out answer. Very helpful.
So here's our city playbook for 2018. This includes a list of tactics we like to employ for influencing city politics. Persuading local politicians to support anti-corruption if in the rare case they are able, if they are willing to actually consider passing reform themselves, and that does occasionally happen. Persuade local non-political influencers to act to support anti-corruption. Alert legislatures that there are grassroots movements, and instead of persuasion, try a more intimidating approach by perhaps mounting protests or by letting them know that groups are forming outside of city council and city hall that are mad about the issues here. Join or initiate lawsuits on behalf of constituents of the city who are disappointed with how things are going. Initiate lawsuits ourselves, though this isn't something that our chapter has the ability to do. Join or initiate a ground-up ballot measure. Just the old-fashioned get a bunch of signatures and put it to the voters method. Join a committee ballot measure, which is something that has really helped us in San Francisco. Individual city committees or commissions are able to put things on the ballot themselves. And that's how we got Prop T and Prop C passed in that city. The Ethics Commission there has the power to put things on the ballot for the voters to choose. And that depends a lot on the city. We have stimulate constituent action by catalyzing local movement just on a mass scale. Encourage Ethics Commission action if they have strong enforcement methods. And then encourage legislator action on a one-to-one basis, such as convincing people to take pledges to not take money above a certain limit or to publicly disclose all their donations.
Yeah, I can tell this is like been written by a lawyer.
No, we do have someone in our chapter. Well, this was written by mostly me and a member of our chapter called Trish, who's a strategic consultant for a firm. And she helped me put together this PowerPoint as well, and helped organize a lot of our thoughts.
It seems very law-based type writing.
Oh.
It's an engineer close to a lawyer.
Because we deal with the law, right? We're trying to change the law. So
Right.
After looking at some of these things...
It's just I have to read these things like 2 or 3 times before it
Yeah.
begins to penetrate.
Yeah, that's fine. And then for color coding, no means we don't feel it's feasible or it's not possible. M means it's potentially possible. Y a green Y means we feel like we can take action on this, like in the immediate future, and A means it's either already done or it is already in action. For clarification. So, are there any questions regarding this slide? Or anything else?
If there's anybody else that's interested in going to the Ethics Commission in San Jose, I've been to several of their meetings, and I'd like to be able to team up with at least one other person and try to get a resolution passed there. I think they can really do something.
Yeah.
Like David said earlier, they can actually initiate law or change laws, and the city council, I think, pretty much rubber stamps it.
What law are you trying to get changed?
We're trying to first get the resolution passed that we have already.
We can talk about that after I wrap up the presentation, because
Okay.
that's detailed to what we want to do
Right.
with the San Jose Ethics Commission in the short.
But it doesn't have to do with
I'm already
elections,
in.
right?
I live in San Jose. I'm going. So.
Oh, great, terrific.
That
Yeah,
was
I
my
consider
question. Do you
going.
need a San Jose resident in order to?
Well, I live in San Jose.
Oh, okay.
You're
so
from
you
Campbell,
guys-
actually.
Actually, no, my property taxes are going to San Jose.
Nice. Yeah, in Menlo Park, we have the Menlo Park people leading the effort there. And despite the fact that I'm from San Jose, we haven't been able. We need more people to reach out to ethics commissioners and to local politicians to let them know that we're credible. Because it's very easy to get a very quick meeting with the city council people, and we've done it before. But we need. We did not have the bandwidth to maintain those relationships and push for, at first, resolutions, and then binding legislation, which is the real goal. I still don't like the word resolutions, because it feels hollow to me. But it's an important first step to show that they're interested in passing reform and to serve as a declaration to the public at large that action is being taken. So it is important. And then, as I mentioned earlier, but I'll say it again for people that came late, I'm attempting to create a database of campaign disclosure based on state-wide forms. Form 460s that every person running for office in California, city, or state must fill out to let people know where their donations are coming from, by individual, by industry, by business, and provide transparency there. And then lastly, we have a volunteer task form that I mentioned earlier that David passed out. And please fill that out and to let us know how people would like to consider getting involved. That'll help us a lot in prioritizing our efforts, because we're a volunteer organization, and the best way to utilize volunteers is to have them do what they want to do.
Do you guys have a chapter in Berkeley or Oakland too?
We have a San Francisco chapter
Right,
that I'm also a part of,
right.
and I believe we have a chapter in Santa Rosa. And
Yeah.
That's my hometown, so I was going to ask that next.
in Sonoma County, yeah,
Well, that's Santa Rosa.
I can try and find their contact information.
Yeah, I have a lot of people that would like to get active out there. So
Yeah, sure. That'd be great. And then we also have one in Santa Cruz, and they're trying to do some election reform stuff right now, actually. But
Okay.
thank you. Are there any? All right, we'll open up the floor to any questions or discussion or anything you want to talk about. So,
Do you have a website or some kind of?
for the local chapter,
Yeah.
we don't have a website for the local chapter. We were too focused on reading up on California districting law for Menlo Park. We didn't have anyone who was able to maintain a website. So that's one of the things that's written down in our task list.
But you have this meetup.
Yeah, I maintain the meetup. And we also have a Facebook page where we have a couple of people posting to that. We take a large focus in actually making progress instead of just movement building. Because one of the reasons why I personally joined Represent Us was because of their victories, because of how they won and how they were passing legislation reform across the country. And we focus a lot on that, and we don't have as much resources on outreach or recruitment or membership. So, and that's something that we would like to have as well. But passing laws comes first, because that's our goal. That's what we're trying to do.
Pass laws.
Pass laws.
I still think the organization would, if we could get unified behind one goal, and that is, just like focus on getting rid of the dial voting machines or any voting machines. Go to hand ballot in every community. Make it a law across the land that this is the way it's to be done everywhere. One way. If everyone gets unified behind that one thought, and that's the only way to guarantee a free and fair election.
Because that is an important aspect of it, like I said earlier. But a lot of people, because we want to use people effectively, and we want to leverage how citizens feel effectively. Right? We want to pass a wide slate of reforms, because this is a wide systemic issue that strikes the nature of our democracy. Right? That's been manifesting itself for centuries to the nature of how our political system is set up, through Supreme Court decisions throughout the decades, through the people involved in politics, through the periphery industry that surrounds Washington. Right? This is a very complex problem we're tackling, and we need to approach it in a complex manner.
I don't know. I think that approaching it in a simple manner. I'm sorry to argue with you because
No, it's fine. I like
it's your
arguing.
organization. It's not mine, obviously, and I'm just an outsider. But,
We do, like I said, we do, voting machines is one of our things, but it's not our main thing. And it is one of the things we tackle, but we don't have a main thing, right? Our main thing is getting voters represented. That's our main thing.
to represent to get the so
To get them to have a voice.
okay. That leads me to this other thing about the new election reform bill. You've heard about this, perhaps. SB 450, California's Voter Foundation position on SB. Okay, this is from the article that I was reading on it here, that the California's Voters' Choice Act.
Mm-hmm.
In 2016, the California legislature passed and Governor Jerry Brown signed into law Senate Bill 450.
Do you have your own form? Or do you not want to?
I haven't filled it out.
Okay, that's
Maybe
fine.
send it in later, but I'm on your list.
Okay.
I'm sorry
thank
if I was boring.
No, that's
Okay.
fine. We need to go.
Oh, okay.
It's
All
done.
right.
Oh, it's done.
It's
All right.
finished.
Just a nice meeting.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll turn off all the equipment.
All right.
I would like to address your concerns in detail, since you have like a lot of nuanced policy positions already. So email me, and we can schedule a meeting later on. And
Or
we
we
can
just stay a few minutes afterwards here?
we
or
could.
do you
I
have-
do need to leave. I
Oh.
do have somewhere I need to be at 5:30, which is a problem for me, unfortunately.
No,
But-
that's perfectly fair. If we could exchange email,
Yeah, sure.
and if I could ask a few questions, and a written response would be excellent.
Yeah, no problem. Does anyone else have any questions?
So I think you've given a presentation here. Was your goal here just to sort of educate us at this level of information? And what are you hoping for next steps from those of us?
Well, for next steps, I'd like to know how people would potentially like to get involved. If they would like to attend ethics commission meetings, if they would like to reach out to allied or interested organizations. Do you have the task list sheet?
You mean this thing?
Yeah, that thing.
Yes, I do.
If you're interested in taking action on those, then that's what we'd like to do. We want to see what volunteers are interested in, because there's so many things we can do, right? There's so many opportunities.
Like voting machines, etc.
Like voting machines. And we want to know what people want to work on so that we can set them loose on people. That's what happened in Menlo Park. We had a bunch of Menlo Park residents. We have a bunch of Menlo Park residents in our chapter, and we got them mad enough that we have a movement there, Menlo Park Residents for Good Governance, that's just hounding the city council. And we always have like 10 people every city council meeting there get up and stand and talk about how, thank you for the Independent Redistricting Commission, now I can't wait for the Charter Commission ranked choice voting, right?
So what's that?
Ranked choice voting? We have a nuanced set of policies. So the idea behind ranked choice voting is that you can take this and read that, and I can actually pass this out. It's a pretty small one. You can hand it back if you don't want it. Pass that around. Ranked choice voting is the idea that you would rank your candidates as opposed to simply picking one. What this does is it eliminates gamesmanship in elections, since the way it works is that if your first choice is eliminated, then your vote isn't wasted. Your second choice comes into effect. So there won't be a position where you have three candidates two that are viable and one that isn't viable but that you like, and you think to yourself, oh, I have to vote for one of the two I don't like because my other guy isn't going to win. This eliminates that. If you've ranked who you actually wanted to win, regardless of viability, as your first choice, and then rank someone else second, when they get eliminated, then your vote would still count. Yeah. This causes politicians to have to campaign towards everyone, not just towards their base or towards those that are already going to be voting for them. It actually forces politicians to campaign towards other politicians' supporters as well, because they need to be ranked on their ballots in addition. It eliminates runoffs, because runoffs occur with a much lower voter turnout when people fail to meet a plurality in a first-past-the-post race. And it actually saves a lot of money that way. San Francisco uses ranked choice, and they save $4 million every election cycle because they don't hold runoffs anymore, because they don't need to. In fact, they could even replace primaries, but the parties don't want that. So we're satisfied with just replacing runoffs for now. Any other questions? That's what we're trying to implement. That was passed in Santa Clara. They're using ranked choice now. Oakland, San Leandro, and San Francisco use ranked choice. And we want Menlo Park to use ranked choice as well.
Now, I posted a comment on the Meetup page about, no, it's not there anymore. I don't know. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that I was just looking for this article again that I read in the Los Angeles Times sometime late last year, about California Brown signing into law a bill that in event of a recount or a contested primary election, or maybe any election, they would not include every vote to be counted again in the recount. Now, was I imagining that, or is there? Because I was looking for a law like that again, and I didn't see anything like that. So maybe I was led astray there or something by the L.A. Times. But I definitely read that article, I'm sure. And I know I posted a comment on your website with a link to that article. I don't know what happened to it.
On our Meetup? I haven't deleted anything on our Meetup.
No?
It's,
Okay.
Was it before November?
Maybe someone else did, like a CIA.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of things that get through in California and in Washington and in cities that people don't know about, so that's just not in fact, in San Francisco, one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing, we have another proposition that we're trying to get through the Board of Supervisors, and if they don't agree, then to the ballot, that basically just reinstates old ethics laws that were slowly gutted over a decade. Right? There was a huge bundle of ethics laws that were passed dealing with limits on money and finance in 2001 called Prop J, and then over the next year or so, it was gutted through loopholes, and we want to undo that damage. So, ethics laws decay if people don't pay attention to them. It's a constant struggle.
I hear
that's
that.
the thing. You pass something, and then 4 or 5 years later, somebody else comes in, lobbies, and says, "Well, this is getting in the way of my profits." So,
Yeah,
I don't like to change this. It's a constant battle.
It's kind of like with used to be politicians and the president especially were required to put their holdings into blind trust.
Yeah.
It seems like these days everybody in Congress knows exactly what they have, and they're pushing their investments. I mean, you can see it with Donald Trump too. Not that I'm against Trump or anything, but like Trump came into office with a big block of Caterpillar stock, and he started talking infrastructure, and I happened to buy in before I knew he had the stuff. I got in at 68. It's at like 150, 160 now. I mean, so the wealth increase for him just by talking about infrastructure building has been tremendous. And I mean, every single politician in the country now knows what he's invested in, how to make more money for himself by passing certain laws. Even though they may still have these laws about blind trust, they're not being followed to one iota that I can see.
In fact, there was up until I think 2008, stocks weren't considered money in campaigns due to some loophole. So the lobbyists were just giving stocks to Congress people. I know Ms. Pelosi took a lot of that. and then they passed the Stock Act, which kind of helped temper the problem. There's still a lot of loopholes with it, but it's something to help limit that.
It's like when I was a kid, my family used to say, the one thing the politicians all put down is raising salaries.
Are there any other
Priorities.
questions? I can talk about really briefly some of the ideas that we had for like immediate action that we wanted to take. We wanted to, so I've spoken enough about the Menlo Park and Santa Clara stuff. In San Mateo, the law that you had mentioned, actually, they're creating a new set of voting centers and doing automatic registration, and we want to follow that progress as well as get San Mateo County in a position where they could potentially use switch machines, actually, but switch machines to use ranked choice and potentially as well improve their security. I actually don't know what machines they use. Gary did an excellent job providing me a couple days ago a lot of research that I need to look into on San Mateo County's election office.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I just really think it's kind of like when you can't solve the problem of air pollution, go after cigarettes. It's solving smaller problems when the main problem is these voter machines to begin with, and they just need to be eliminated.
I don't know if we'll talk about this. We'll address it. I want to speak.
You think there's a secure way to do the voting machine? I don't. I think that any machine could be hacked. I
didn't necessarily say that this is secure with the voting machine. I'm just trying to get any progress, right? That we can
Yeah,
make.
no, I understand.
Anyway,
And
well-
you're an activist, which I respect.
Yeah.
I want to say that right out.
And then we want to conduct meetings with potential political allies. We have two particularly that we want to speak to. There's Pierluigi Oliverio, who was previously on the San Jose City Council, who's running for county supervisor now. And then there's Shay Franco Clausen, who's running for D7 in San Jose, who is not taking corporate donations specifically. And I've met her, and she's interested to learn about ranked choice and how we can improve campaign finance in San Jose. I also know Omar Vasquez, who's running, and I believe D9, but he's pretty much on board. We don't really need to meet with him. And he's also on the SBPA board as well. So I meet with him on like a monthly basis in any case. They want to conduct immediate outreach with Common Cause California. The director's name is Helen Greco. She lives in Petaluma, and she's willing to drive down to Menlo Park to sit next to us and for those city council meetings to get an independent redistricting commission. And I'd like to tighten those bonds. Move to Amend, which is in a similar line of business. They're the constitutional amendment folks. But our hearts lie in the same place, and we have a lot of things we can work on together. Other political alliances in the South Bay area, like the South Bay Progressive Alliance and Dream Menders, and if there are any conservative groups, I've tried to reach out and find any that are active, but it's very difficult, and I haven't been able to. But conservatives are also for these kinds of changes. If you ask the average American if they want to see the influence of money in politics reduced, it's about 97, 96% yes. So a lot of it depends on the wording. But that's a different conversation that I could get into very deep. We'll skip that for now. And then meet with the San Jose Ethics Commissioners and potentially the city attorney, you said, of San Jose?
Right, he's there at every meeting.
Yeah, who might help
He sounded very helpful.
author a resolution or a bill for San Jose. So yeah, that's all I had.
So the survey here with the list of tasks to do, it actually originated from the org chart to Represent Us has for every chapter, and there's just pages and pages and pages for every role. And so what David did is he had everybody in the group go together to shave that down to come up with this significant list that doesn't have a lot of superfluous and unmeaning stuff. It just has what we came up with. This list is only 2.5 pages.
There's actually a new draft that I got sent by Trish, but that's fine.
Okay.
I know I filled out one of these, and I'm still not sure how I can help your organization.
That's fine.
You haven't contacted me, like, could you, write an article for us, or not that I expected that.
However,
but whatever I can do.
Yeah. Write in something if you have an idea. If none of the existing tasks.
Yeah, I see you developed it more, so I'll go over it again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Any
Look
other
forward
questions?
to the next meeting.
Yes. For our next meeting, we're going to hold it in a library. That'll be a better venue. It'll be easy to expand, and we won't have to have this issue with space.
This is a nice space.
It is a nice
Quiet.
space. There was a few people that I didn't want to disturb, and we're still. This isn't really a proper way to project, and I want to outreach way more. Our national mailing list is actually in the thousands. We only contacted people for this meeting based on our local mailing list because I didn't want it to get out of control. But in the future, I want to advertise more, like use Facebook advertising to get people into our group there and send out an email blast at large to those thousands to get more people involved there. So,
Okay.
I'd like to hold our chapter meetings immediately before our new membership meetings. That way people don't have to go to multiple meetings. It's irritating.
What did you say? I missed that.
Hold our chapter meetings before our new member meetings.
Okay.
Right? And I think that the last Sunday of the month might be a good time. I'll be sending out an email after this with a summary of what's happened, as well as a request to tell me what times would be good for you if you are interested in attending our meetings. So we can come. We usually meet on Sundays. Sundays in around this time, or maybe a little bit earlier, like at 1. But yeah. Any other questions? There's also a couple of other policy positions that I hadn't mentioned that we also work on a lot, like public financing and things like that. But I can talk a long time about this stuff, but I don't want to.
What do you mean when you're talking about redistricting? That wouldn't impact congressional districts, would it?
So California, we actually already have an independent districting commission, which is very rare. Most of the gerrymandering for congressional districts is for other states that don't. But for this, we refer a lot to cities, because cities in San Jose still use at-large methods of election, or just strange methods like what Santa Clara used to have with numbered seats. And you'd run against a specific numbered seat, and there was a lot of gamesmanship with that. It was a very arbitrary system. And that was an at-large system as well. And so when these cities draw their districts for electing their city council members, those should be independent, and those should be populated by citizens who adhere to a list of requirements that ensure that they're an independent, non-partisan, unbiased body, right? So
So in San Francisco, are they elected by district?
yes,
Yeah. Sure. When did they do that? You know?
San Francisco got districts in the 70s. That's actually one of the reasons why Harvey Milk won his first race, because he lost at large and then they redistricted, and then he actually won Castro. So that's how he managed to get into office there in the first place, because of districts. But that's unrelated.
Do you think there's any way they're going to divide the state into 3 states?
I have no idea about that. That's way too far out for this.
Also, here we have this unincorporated county, Verizon. And so that's a whole other thing. I mean, I originally from the East Coast, and there's no such thing as unincorporated county out there. So
one of our Menlo Park members was going to run for the independent commission, but she's in like 3 blocks of Menlo Park that are unincorporated San Mateo County, so she's disqualified.
yeah, so it's a very strange, and it's just little pockets here and there. But it's another thing that I think should be looked at.
Yeah. Anyway, we can wrap up so that people can get out. I have a card that lists some of the aspects of federal law that we'd like changed according to the American Anti-Corruption Act that I had mentioned earlier. If you want to pass that around. And then I have some the same ranked choice pamphlets from earlier, but I passed those out already, so that should be fine. Is there any other questions or anything? All right, cool. Make sure that you've given us your email if you wish to be contacted, and then I'll send out an update sometime in the middle of the week. So.
Here.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Not a clean handoff.
Lost my grip there.
Did you take one? Did you want one? Okay, that's all I had. So,
Have you ever heard of Congresswoman from Cynthia McKinney?
Yeah. This is
from where?
Cynthia McKinney, black congresswoman, I think she's from the South. She's been trying to start this really large voter reform organization, kind of along the lines of what you guys are doing. They have like thousands of meetup groups across the country for this political reform. Meetup canceled them all, censored them.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
so
These
anyway,
high-tech
there's
companies.
my